Hi there everyone. This evening we are doing a district map, or we're attempting to. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we did a couple of streets, and those were fairly difficult to do, honestly. They, like I mentioned at the time, I find doing rougher areas, quote unquote, easier because they have generally more life in them. Whereas the areas that are typically cleaner and all that kind of stuff aren't as nice to be able to do because they're pretty boring in terms of a map, because, you know, it's going to be squares or whatever else. It is weird, Saracos. So, what I have been asked to do is to try and make a area that is more than one street, which is terrifying. So it's not quite a full district. It is going to be essentially a cross-section of a couple of streets all in one area. So the only way that I've really been able to think about doing this is by essentially cutting off areas for myself, making my life a little bit easier by stating that there's certain areas that are going to be certain things. Like this nice big area up here is going to be a river, because most medieval cities do need to be on a river at some point. So, cheating a little bit by making my life easier for that. I'm then going to position a bridge, or two, possibly, to state where the roadways need to be, and then start building my way out from there. Essentially, the idea that I have is, quote unquote, the wrong side of the tracks, or the wrong side of the river, which being the slightly rougher area, slightly older area, because that is, again, easier to do, because it allows for more interesting connections and interlacing of all that kind of good stuff. So, let's find us a bridge. You are so welcome to talk to me at any point if you so choose, Phil. No, that's what I mean. That's pretty much the same as always for you doing inopportune moments, isn't it, Phil? Okay, so we're going to put two bridges there. Bridges are fairly big, but for the size of the houses, so we need a roof. So for the sake of it, let's use regular clay tiled. We're probably going to be going down to a size 20. Yeah, somewhere around there. Oh, no. Not you, size 20. You need to be bigger. Get your booty bigger. Okay, so maybe that needs to go down to, yeah, 85 is better. And we'll do... That's too big. What's that, sorry? No, so I'm just basically laying out where the basics of the streets are going to be. So I have a general idea for how things are going to start being positioned and how the sizes should look, so then I can judge how big the street needs to be, how big X needs to be, how big Y needs to be. I think the 30s are pretty good. They represent a building pretty sharpish. I think we also need to have a well or a statue of some kind to make a little square. I haven't, no. So for those who didn't catch the message right at the beginning, the idea of this is that it's going to be a battle map. So a very large battle map at that, but a battle map nonetheless. So in theory, this map should be capable of having multiple instances of combat or various other good things like that across it. As any DM will know who has attempted to make maps in the past, that is kind of horrifying an idea, because you never want to have your maps be this big, because god, possibilities. Who wants to give all their players all that choice? Cool. So let's. Oh, that was quick. I didn't even get to see what they were plugging. Well done, Sarah. Let me guess. They wanted to be internet famous. Yeah. Who would have thunk it? Thank you, Sarakos. Greatly appreciated. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get... Never give players choices. Exactly! It is correct to never give your players choice, because every time you give your players choice, things will go wrong. So, let's get this down to a 50. So what we're going to do is we're going to just plot out a couple of paths. We'll probably change up the colours of these a little bit at certain points. But like most cities and districts, there's a focal point. So focal point is going to be the... you are just too quick. Is going to be the well for the time being. We will probably expand on that in a little while, but for now I'm just putting some odd little pathways down, because we want to create alleyways and little nooks and crannies and all this kind of stuff to make it seem like it's an old part of town that has been gradually built up. To do that, let's get that around there and connect that one up. So for those of you who may not know the term, these are what are called desire paths. So a desire path is when a group of people, there is a publicly funded path, which is the cobblestone in this case, which has been laid and all that kind of stuff. But because people would rather go the direct route, they have walked across grass or whatever else and left a long dirt trail in it, and that is referred to as a desire path. So, no, that's the red light district, Phil. That's a different kettle of fish. That's not something we can talk about on a PG stream. Okay, so I think what I want to do is put some kind of waterfront along here. But when I say waterfront, I mean literally basically straight up bricking it off, so it's directly into the water. Build up a bunch of houses and maybe put a thieves guild in here, if the thieves guild is the correct colour, because I think these are watercolours as opposed to anything else. So I know that... Yes, I completely agree. What Phil was just saying is that it should be an inn, and I do agree with that. That is a very good point. I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use some of these crypt walls, because they're damaged and broken and whatever else, to line this little area. Make that randomized, and just begin to build up sections over here. Maybe have 2 or 3 that have fallen into the water. I can never remember which one it is first time. Darken. Multiply. This one. This one, 180 degrees. Ah, okay, so that needs to be 360 degrees instead, the opposite way. Cool. So let's grab one of those. Need to put that back to 90. Or actually 270. So the crumbling is on that side. And then put it back to 90. Ooh. Let's put that bit on this nice little end piece over there. Oh, I accidentally placed it. Get over there. Let's give this a little cubby bit there. We'll build the exactly. We'll do something with that in a second, but having that little bit of variation is quite a nice little... Goodness gracious. Over here. You never guess that I'm in customer service mode with you with how I'm speaking. Pretty much. Cool. So I'm going to make this part slightly less damaged. So we're going to put these crypt walls, or these broken crypt walls, much further apart. Just to give it a little bit of variation. Put that there. And then we'll grab some regular crypt walls, the non-damage kind, and fill those in a little bit. Because then that way it makes it look like some areas are falling into a bit more disrepair, while others are somewhat still in working order. Because variation is important on maps, because otherwise it looks monotonous. Exactly. So let's grab this one, this little curved piece. Pop that right there as well, because I have an idea that I'd like to do with that one. Put that down a layer, so it's underneath. Bap, bap, bap. Nope, definitely don't want you. You're too big, sir. Too big. Not the title of my sex tape. Yeah, I know. Funny that, isn't it? Maybe one day I'll get that restraining order lifted and I can go back to Brighton. Yeah, back to Nessie. Darling, it's better. Down where it's wetter. Take it from me. That's right, you stare at me disapprovingly. I'm glad I disappointed you, Dad. Oh, jeez, we're not even halfway around this thing yet. Ugh, so much map. So much map. Let's give that one a little indent. We can make that like a water gully or something. Maybe a little connection to the Thieves Guild if we can get one. Be like the rataways from Skyrim. Put that there. Check that one there as well. Cool. Okay. So I know this is probably going to look a little ramshackled to everyone who's looking at it for a start and go, what the hell are you doing? Like, this looks terrible. And I agree. It does look terrible. But that's the point. Pretty much, yeah. So it was probably something of importance at some point. But then once, you know, all the rich people move out of the area and they move into... they've gone into the higher, classier regions. The poor folk, as typically happens, get forgotten about. Not that I have any political leanings or political beliefs anywhere around. Just because it's fantasy doesn't mean everything's good. Let me have my dystopia, damn you. Cool. Okay, so there's some things starting to go into the water. We're starting to get an idea. So, I like the idea of making this an old guard post. So let's, I think, put a tent here. So while it may have been a guard post at some point, it's now well, what is the term that they used in Paris? Similar to a court of miracles. There we go. The court of miracles was where you would find all of the homeless people and all of the disabled in Paris, more often than not, because they back in like the 16th and 17th century, because more often than not all the people who were supposed to be disabled actually weren't. They were just very poor and very good at acting. So it was the court of miracles, because when you would go there they'd miraculously walk again. It was a very well hidden area, and is something that does get brought up very briefly in Les Miserables. Because it is where we find, I cannot remember the name of the actress, oh sorry, the character, but whomever Anne Hathaway played in the film version. Unfortunately, I'm not very good with Les Mis characters apart from Jean Valjean, and that's mostly just because his name is fun to say. I am Jean Valjean. But yes, that is where she is seen when she is down on her luck, shall we say. I think that's the polite way of putting it, isn't it? Fantine. Ah, no. Get over here. Cool. So we'll put that right there. That is our inn. So we'll make a little area behind it in a second. with some tables and whatever else, because, you know, we're British, we gotta sit outside now, pubs, when the summer comes so we can drink cider. Innit? Exactly. And again, it was once a nice area. Exactly. See, you're starting to cotton on. Even though you might not want to. Okay, so let's put one of you there. Then you over here, I think. Begin to start putting you at angles. Start creating variation. Okay, so we now need to do a bunch of roofs, so we're going to be in this little section for quite a while. So let's make my life easier by taking a bunch of pre-built houses. Actually, I can't. These ones are far too big. Oh, I can use this one. Let's put that right there. I think that's a good place for that one. Let's grab some of these. Yes, and I knew that as soon as I said it, Sarakos, that you would have Court of Miracles from Hunchback of Notre Dame stuck in your head. So, enjoy that. Speaking of which, Phil, you haven't really watched much Disney, have you? Okay, so you haven't seen some of the more the golden age, which is the 90s Disney ones, have you? Yes, no? So obviously Lion King, I'm going to presume you've seen that. Little Mermaid. And then we go into Mulan. Okay, that one's 97. So then it's Hercules in 98. Hunchback of Notre Dame, which was 95, I believe, or maybe later. I'd highly recommend, even if you don't watch the film for that one, Phil, I really recommend, just because you work in theatre, to listen to what was going to be the Broadway production of it. But unfortunately, Broadway... Is it Broadway, the American one? Yeah. Broadway turned around and said that because the entire choir have speaking lines, that meant they had to ensure every single one of them individually rather than as a choir. So it meant that it was not a financially viable thing for Disney to do. So it never got made, which is incredibly sad because it is my favourite musical soundtrack of all time. It is dark and it is macabre and deals with the idea of lust and religion and how your personal belief is not necessarily in the best interest of those, despite if you are in positions of power, abuse. It's phenomenal. Genuinely one of the most underrated Disney films of all time. Mostly because, and I think Sarakos will agree with me, because it's not a Disney film. It came out in the time period where people still looked at cartoons as cartoons, not as animation. So it's yeah, it's very much a adult film with a couple of kids jokes in there. But obviously when it came out as a product of its time, and it probably would do phenomenally well today, especially if it was done by someone like the studio that did Kubo and the Two Strings or something like that. Yeah, exactly, because the acknowledgement that animation can be something more mature was a thing, because, you know, for some reason people completely forgot that, you know, Watership Down and all that kind of stuff happened. I mean, how? Yeah, I don't know. That film's traumatized me for the entirety of my life. Exactly. It is seared into my brain and will be seared there for the rest of my life. I never thought rabbits could do that, but apparently they can. I think was it yourself that watched that film that you cursed me for making you watch? Yeah. Yeah. I cannot remember offhand. But I just remember that it was a British independent animation film. And it is incredible, but good lord, is it one of the most depressing things you will ever watch in your entire life. Yeah, again, it's Watership Down levels of you're not going to be able to forget it. And again, it's one of those films that I want to recommend to people because it's such a phenomenal film. The Plague Dogs. But yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really bad. Yeah, Sarakos, I really wouldn't recommend it. If let's put it this way: if what I did in the two shot made you as uncomfortable as I know it did, do not watch this film. You don't. It will hurt. It hurts a lot because it's far too real. I think that's the only way you can really describe it, isn't it, Phil? Is that it's an animation film, but good God, does it feel real? And also harder for us because doggos, exactly. Because, you know, me and Phil are massive dog lovers, which makes that film even more, makes me want to cry. I'm very thankful that when I was watching, because I don't think I ever told you where I actually found that film. It was a VHS that my father recorded off TV. My father used to record loads and loads of films back when VHSs were a big thing. And we had a massive cupboard that was under the stairs that was just full of them. Hundreds and hundreds of films. And it was always you can watch anything in here so long as you ask, and if we say no, you can't watch it. Because so it was when I was 12 I was allowed to watch 15 rated films, when I was 15 I was allowed to watch 18 rated films, things like that. When I brought that up, my mother went, yeah, okay, I don't know much about it. And then my dad immediately went, no, no, no. And she went, why, what do you mean? And then he wandered over to her and whispered, because I remember this because it comes up every so often when I talk about this film with them, because surprisingly my dad's a massive cinephile. he just went, "This is the one that you walked out of the cinema from crying." And she went, "Oh, no, he's not watching that." Because yes, my father was one of the crazies who went to an independent cinema to go watch it. Yes, and being the big Ard Valleys man that he is, tried his darndest not to cry. Because we've never had doggos, he's a very soft man. And if he heard me saying that, he would come and flick me straight on the forehead. For revealing the truth, exactly. I mean, I feel like I am one of the few people who have not watched Watership Down, so okay. Sarikos, Watership Down is like Mulan to Hunchback of Notre Dame in terms of tonality. For you, I think you'll understand what I'm trying to say with that. It's it is that different in terms of the seriousness of it. Because at the very least with Watership Down, you kind of know what you're getting into with Watership Down these days. Like, it's been around long enough that people know now. Whereas, you know, Plague Dogs got forgotten about. And, so, depending on who you ask, some people would argue for the better. Ooh, nice, I like that, okay. Me likey. So these are tents, but they are specifically like desert tents. So, you know, like where they just have shade. So I'm just going about trying to connect various things, find where there's little gaps that things need to be placed. Ooh, a little veranda. Why not? A little veranda. It need to be a lot smaller, but 30. Much smaller. There we go. Yes, it's who boy is it hell of a film. Oh, but yes, again, you are a cinephile, Phil, so I think you will be able to appreciate this conversation. The last time that I was over Bree and Andrew's, I introduced Andrew to Heat. He had never seen Heat before. Robert De Niro. The most expensive non-action movie set piece of its time. Until Titanic came out, like, 5 months later. So it did a bunch of things that had never been done before. Like they put sound booms in every street for a 12-block radius for the shootout scenes, so that they could get the accurate levels of echoing for the gunshots to make it sound as real as possible, because the entire shootout scene, which is the middle part of the movie, it's a 20-minute segment, has no music at all. It is purely character voice and real world sound. And again, as a cinephile, that is so goddamn cool. And I wish more on-set could do well. It's having the money and being able to convince the big boyos with the buckles to let them do it, isn't it? Because unfortunately these days, as much as I love things like Netflix and things like that, for anyone who hasn't seen the Matt Damon interview with Hot Wings or Hot Sauce or whatever they're called, which is it's a YouTube channel. They interview celebrities, but while eating hot wings, but the interviewers are really, really good. He's very, very intelligent. Actually asks like really well-educated, well-thought-out questions, which is why he's become so popular, because it's literally just him and a camera and a bunch of hot wings. But it has become so well known that major celebrities go on there. He's had Neil deGrasse Tyson on there. Like, it's a fairly big deal, and it's great. But yes, he asked the question, why did Matt specifically feel that the kinds of movies that people always say that they miss, so the ones from back in the 90s, so things like what's the one that had him, Ben Affleck, and Robin Williams in it? Good Will Hunting. Why have films like that tended to have disappeared from major box office? Because obviously, while that was still a gamble back in the 90s, it wasn't as big a gamble as it would be these days. So the reason that he feels for it is because of the advent of things like Netflix and things like that. Not that it is a detriment to filmmaking, but it has changed how major studios are willing to approach filmmaking. Because whereas back in the 90s you would be able to make a fair chunk on your box office, but then guarantee that you had VHS or DVD sales after that to make up the rest of the budget. That doesn't really happen anymore. You're reliant on the cinema and then the possibility that your film does well enough that one of the major streaming outlets is willing to pay a good premium to get it. Which they won't, because why would they? They're people like Netflix. They dominate the market. Yes. It is very frustrating, and unfortunately, that is why you'll see a lot of the more interesting stuff on places like Netflix or on places like Amazon Prime, because while not all their films are fantastic, admittedly, because they have their own platforms, they are able to be that little bit more creative, that have that little bit more of the opportunity to try things. Very much like Stranger Things. So Stranger Things was positioned to Fox, it was positioned to HBO, and it was positioned to Sci-Fi. All of whom turned it down because the directors weren't well known, and they didn't trust that they could make this ambitious project. Exactly. And then they went to Netflix. Netflix looked at it and went, yep, 100%. This is weird enough and different enough that we're willing to try it. And it's become one of the most beloved properties of the last decade. It has done so well. It's only got 3 seasons. and yet people talk about it pretty incessantly. For good reason. But, yeah, things like that are... for people who are the way inclined that I am. I find that kind of stuff fascinating, just to go, why can I not get more psychological thrillers or things like that? But then again, we have the advent of other streaming services that, like things like Shudder. For those of you who don't know what Shudder is specifically a streaming service for horror movies, and specifically Hammer horror type movies. So gratuitous amounts of fake blood, all that kind of stuff. The kind of cheesy horror movies, but they're great for how cheesy they are. That is an entire platform that is just dedicated to those, which is really, really good. It's a really cool platform that they've managed to do, and they've got their own TV stuff that's on the way, which is definitely interesting. Ooh, let's use a curtain as it's not intended to be, shall we? You heard me. You're gonna wish you hadn't, but you heard me. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Get over here. Get down there. Yeah, just a little something in one of the alleyways. That is what we're going to have to begin doing now, is filling out areas, because yes, while there's going to be a lot more buildings, we also need to think about the fact that this, for goodness sake, I'm trying to move you, not position you. No, that's the title of my sex tape. Anyway, is that the League of Legends show? I haven't, but apparently it's very good, isn't it? Okay. Yes, so they're talking about the show Arcane, and saying it's apparently very, very good. Actually, the term that Phill used was phenomenal, which is that's a big deal for you to refer to it as such. You're not the first person that I've seen said as such, honestly. So I think I'm gonna have to give it a go, honestly. Okay, bear with us just a second. I am going to go to a break to transition to have Phil's face, lovely, lovely face, on the screen again. We'll be back in just a moment. Hi everyone! So, apparently, my very, very expensive headphones and the software they're in with them has decided that it doesn't want to play ball with Discord today, even though it played ball with Discord last week and the week before and the week before that. And the second that the audio jack came out, you can hear Phill.
Okay. Alright.
So, I'm going to be honest, I don't know. And honestly, I'm a smidge too tired to try and figure it out today.
Yeah, that's frustrating after sinking a load of money into a headset.
It's okay. I think it's probably...
Pull that with us, Sarah.
Phill, if Sarah does that, you have my permission to ban them.
Well, I can't. Who's going to get to the actual bots that come into the chat?
You have my permission to ban them for all of 30 seconds.
I it's okay. It's okay. I see FoolishFool is lurking around. So like.
Ah, that's fine.
Like,
we have our backup.
Never mind me, who's actually involved in the chat, being like, "Oh, there's a bot there. I can get rid of it," and then it's gone before it.
Yeah, so it's almost as if our community's that good that they get on top of it that quickly.
It is. That's because they're lovely people.
They are.
That's why they want to spend time with us. I don't know.
Well, you're asking me.
Anyway, so I mean, we should be focusing on the stream, but Arcane, right? It is.
Yes. I mean,
it is
talk to
so
me.
good. I'm only a few episodes in, but I heartily recommend it. I don't know if it is better or worse. If you know stuff about League of Legends,
I know nothing about League of Legends, but I have seen a bunch of people who are really into League of Legends who absolutely adore it.
Then that's good. Then that's a good thing. So.
Specifically, the term was, I believe, Arcane. Fuck you! You have no right being this good.
Yeah, no, really enjoying it. Engaging characters. I like. I love a bit of steampunk. So the world they've created is fantastic, and love the setting, and it just looks gorgeous, like all the time. So. Anyway, so map is coming along nicely.
It's beginning to fill out.
Not boring. That's like one of the major points you said about putting these things together, isn't it? That you're concerned about it just looking all the same.
Yeah,
kind of thing
aesthetically unpleasing. Which is.
But this is a very rundown area. Lots of, like you said, lots of alleyways and buildings to get behind.
Yes, and hopefully. Oh, it's recommending I save. Sure, can do. Inkarnate district. Yes.
Oh yeah, just give it a name.
No, the rundown district is plenty fine. I don't know which city it's in, so rundown district is good enough. Yes, so I think gonna look a quick little sheet and just copy paste some buildings to fill out the edge of the map with it very quickly.
I think so.
Because there's no real need to manually paste them every time. Just check that there. Perfect. We'll take a couple of these because for some reason I like the straw ones. They make me happy.
Yeah.
We'll put another one there. Another one here.
At a wonky angle.
Yeah. Gotta have a slight wonk because then it makes it look like it's real. And then it's going to be back into buildings. So I'm going to start doing some buildings that are abandoned.
Oh, like proper rundown, trashed.
Yes. Because by doing that, it also gives the DM the opportunity to put ambushes. Ha 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 ha!
Exactly. Yeah, Yeah, we need stuff. Stuff that makes for good places for ambushes, like you say. Things like fencing, where some of the occupiers have tried to give themselves the pretense that they've got a yard.
Yeah, sure, can do. I like that.
Or rather, obstacles for if there's a chase.
Yes, exactly. Okay, fences. Actually, gonna put a couple of these down first. Down here, I think. A couple of random broken logs. down. Because we've already got this thing here, which technically isn't completely how it should be. But I'm going to cheat and put some moss over the top of it.
Yes.
Because moss makes my life easier.
Yeah, that's a sentence you never thought you'd say.
Oh no, my moss won't go over the top of it. Now that's a sentence I didn't think I would say. Ah, there it is. Vines. That's what I'm looking for. Moss is for that bit. Vines is for this bit. Put that. Move down a layer. Rotate you. Move you down a layer again. There we go. So then at least that
was great.
gives it a bit of texture. So let's work on this little area, I think. I think I might make this the Thieves Guild, quote unquote. Because it's just a fairly big building.
So on top right, are you saying that?
Yes, the top right, sorry.
Okay.
I think, because I'm going to use this little thing as a little disappearing point.
Impromptu dock.
Yes.
Oh, right,
exactly.
okay, I see.
A little impromptu dock. That is a good way of putting it. Need a plank. Plank!
Right.
Turkey. Let's move you underneath.
A layer.
Yeah, I like that, because you could be sitting on those little bit of rocks now.
Yeah, what's crumbled into the river now just allows them to lay the plank over, and so that they can quickly onload and offload.
Exactly.
Contraband.
We'll also put a little wooden pillar, even smaller than that. It needs to be like 10, right there, right where you would moor it. And when you go up here, you can barely see it. But when you're in the 5x5 that you would be, which hopefully this doesn't blow out too much when it gets made.
Yeah, that is an interesting thought of like how high resolution it would save at to give.
So I can show you. So I can actually show you how we would do that. So in having Inkarnate Pro, when we go on to export as image, we have 2048 by 1536 pixels. Okay, that's the typical size. However, because we are paying, we get the opportunity to put it all the way up to 8K.
Holy buttballs. That's yeah, okay.
It becomes a very large image.
But that means that GMs can cut and be like, right, so
Exactly.
you've got an encounter there, but you haven't made it to the Thieves Guild yet.
Exactly.
So then you go to the larger map, and they're like, which way are you going from here?
Exactly.
And then the GM can be like, good. So, roll perception, and your people are like, oh, fuck, there's going to be something before we get there.
Oh no, the guards are here. Why is it always guards? DM, why do you do this to us? Because it's funny. Because your pain brings me joy.
It sustains me.
Exactly. Ooh, nope. Let's grab that one. And then I think same, but the opposite way.
Nice little ramshackle fencing that that probably a more affluent person who lives in that area has tried to do to try and
oh god, no! In my
ownership.
mind, is this guy with this fence hut. I'm gonna put some pigs there now.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Gotta get me some piggos. Do love me some oinkers.
Which is, again, you've got your you got that's where they've gone to that section, and there's the guard patrol they've got to hide from. They're like, I'll just hop over this fence, it'll be fine, and then they'll be like, yeah, great, roll an animal handling check. It's like, I'm not going anywhere near them. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, they're pigs.
Animal handling check. It's 7. Yeah, see, there's some piglets in there. Mama Sow's pretty cross about that, you turning up.
I'm gonna do you a little. I'm gonna do you a little solid as well, Phil.
Hmm?
Because you don't know this yet, because they've only just added them. But
What?
they have geese.
Oh yes.
Definitely
roll initiative.
I'm gonna put a couple of geese in this little pond. And
they would they'd fucking absolutely be rolling initiative if anyone went within 30 foot of that.
Oh god, yes. And we'll have that one flying away, because why not? We got a couple of little geese in there. It's not even a pond. It's just a puddle.
Yeah, it's just a puddle that got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point that they were like, oh, go here.
Yeah. Oh god, we can't get rid of the geese. Okay, well this is the geese's area now.
Shoot them away and just get attacked.
Yeah. I guess the geese own this bit now.
Yeah, that's such a fun potential for like random parts of the scenery getting incorporated into the game session in ways that the players won't have expected or anticipated the fury with which.
So how did you die? Geese.
Yeah.
I was down to 2 hit points. Was trying to run past the geese. Didn't work.
They hacked me to death.
They were so angry. I just wanted to walk past.
Hard way to go to geese. I went to where I normally, because obviously I'm the fucking bird man. I went to where I normally see all my swan and my ducko friends. Yesterday, and it's a bit later than normal, and there were a load of geese there. So I approached, one of them walked up to me hissing, and I just went, "What?" And it just looked, and it I know their faces, expressions don't change, but it looked very surprised. It just, instead of running or being scared, I said, "What?" And it just kind of stopped, and I was like,
all right then.
Fine.
Guess this geezer isn't scared then. Well, me mates didn't see that. Would have been embarrassing.
I'm going to go off on a tangent about birds again, but I do
remember
last year, that there was a whole 3 months where there were geese constantly at this point. And they were all really friendly. I said it was totally unnatural. I started to get a load of them to eat out of my hands because I'm Mary Poppins.
Yep. In game and out.
Eventually, a load of them left, apart from 3, and they were there for ages. And all 3 of them would eat out of my hand. They were cute. They were the first geese that I could ever describe as being cute.
Because they weren't trying to murder you.
2 of them left, and it was just the one of them left. And I briefly saw 2 of them, and they had goslings with them. Oh, nice and cute. And from that point on, that one that was on its own was really, really grumpy, like the entire time. Like it had never like taken time to like hiss and chase other birds that were there, but from that point on, it was.
It's gonna. It is gonna.
Yes, thank you, Sarikos. I am the Steve Irwin of the Dark Bird world.
That is a hell of a compliment.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Does that mean that I'll accidentally end up in trouble when I get too close to Starling? Rest in peace, Phil.
Yeah. R.I.P. Steve, you were too good for this world. You left behind a good couple of kids.
Carrying on the cause.
Yes. They work in wildlife refuges themselves.
That's sweet. Hey, this is coming along. I'm really liking the amount of variety that you've got in here already. It just
thank you, I appreciate it because I'm looking at it and I'm screaming at it every second that I'm looking at it. But I am the biggest critic of my own work that you will ever find. So there you go. Here's Phil's park bench next to the geese.
No, that's good. That's good. That'll totally give some PCs like, can I sit on the bench? And it'll be like, yeah, sure. And as soon as they sit down, be like, roll initiative.
What happened? Fucking geese. They're geese, man. Like they do what they want. You'd be safer sitting down next to a bunch of wolves. At least the wolves would tolerate your presence. Right, let's get some stuff over here. Another one here. Okie dokie, so apologies everyone, I am about to lean very far into the screen and go very quiet for a moment, so Phil, you are in charge of entertaining the stream for a second.
I don't know what's happening. But we've got a close up of Ben's ear here. Yeah. It's our favourite of Ben's ears, if you ask me, but so I'm glad that he's showing. Darko says, when I scream at my maps, I remember Bob Ross's words and add happy little trees. Usually helps with maps or to hide the parts that I really don't like.
Why does that resonate with me on a spiritual level? Yeah, so basically all I'm doing, I just need to tidy up some of these edges because
that's good. That's a good idea.
Ah, bollocks. They are making it, unfortunately, a little too untidy for it to look quite right.
Yeah. I like that. That looks like it's either like some kind of bandstand or some kind of area where they've, it could have been like a nice part of when it was better looked after. That would have been a lovely feature, being able to see out over the water of that area. And now it's just all gone to crap.
And now hobos live here. Trees, because more trees is always useful. Put it up to 60. Trees. Trees. Oh, that tree needs to be up. Move up, sir. You cannot be underneath the little hay house. That is not how it works. Tree. Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Explain to me what you're thinking of the building on the left there with the
This one?
sort of the mismatched sort of like corner roofing.
I don't have a thought process for it at the moment, honestly. I just started piecing some things together and kind of went
bits together. Yeah.
Again, the older an area is, the more likely it is to have been rebuilt out of shit
that architects would be like, what's that?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, someone left their roof tiles behind. I'm sure I could do something with that.
Yoink.
Exactly.
Now they have a section of what their house would be that actually is full of water.
Yeah.
The rain gets in.
It's so that they don't need to go to the well. They can just go into the back room. There you go. Here's your guy who thinks he's important because he's got a tiny little garden.
Yes.
And because that immediately just makes me think of how I would set that up. He's got some dickhead neighbour that is literally just going to sit outside of his fence. Just to annoy him. Oi, Bill. Bill. Not in your grass.
Not on your land here, am I? That's your land. It belongs to you, right? Well, I'm going to sit right here.
Yeah. Oh, Bill, this is such a lovely spot that you've got.
I'll have a couple of little flowers that he's trying to grow.
Oh, I like that. I'll put that in a second. Down goes the manure pile. What are the most depressing looking plants that we've got on here? There we go. Thorny vines. He's trying, he's just not very good. Cool. So, now it's time to start doing coloration and everything else. Because as soon as we start moving it away from just the tonal green that we have, and having the variety there, this will very quickly feel a lot fuller. Foreground, about 25. Okay. Just put this entire area in this.
Do you want to make the entire area under where the pigs are?
Under the pigs is going to be slightly different because that will be proper slop. I do love this. It's a web browser engine, and I paint underneath it, and the vector immediately recognizes that I'm putting it there. Look at that. You can see it underneath the image that the floor tile is different.
That is good. That is good.
It's the little things that I like. I'm a very simple man to please, apparently. show me a fun bit of grass, and I'm like, ooh, grass.
It's green, and that bit's different green.
I like it. It makes it look like people don't care. I love it.
So overgrowing the road a little bit as well, which is good.
Yeah, because again, these are desire paths. Ooh, that was not what I was trying to do. They're just well worn rather than anything else. Sarakos, you know that you're the kind of person that if I suggested that there was a dickhead neighbour, you would want to know that NPC immediately.
Yes. And help them.
Yes. Be the general biggest shitlords that you possibly can, and I love you all for it. That is not what I want. That is far too big. There we go. Get a little bit of that smudgy cobble in there. And do the same in various places.
Yeah, that's good.
Various places, just stain it a little bit. And all around the well, because the well would have moss.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing to add some texture and things to the road. Great.
Comes along slowly. It's all about taking the time. I know some people will probably go, "How did you not plan this beforehand?" And I was like, "No." Honestly,
yeah. Ben said on the way in, he's like, "I'm not really sure how we're going to do this, but it's turned out. I'm really glad with what you've done. I think it looks really good."
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Lots of options and things like that for encounters, like you said, ambushes. If they're going to the, if it's a thieves guild there, then ambushes are probably going to come from thieves, but at the same time they also might want to avoid guards. There's guard implications that you can have. You can different directions can have things. We've got animals that can be interacted with, dickhead neighbors that can be interacted with. That's good.
Red ground, dungeon ground, grey ground, cracked ground. That could be useful. Put that around here. Don't worry, I know it's rather large, but I do have a plan for it. Give it a second.
Maybe next day.
God, you wish.
I've got a plan for it.
Put a little bit of that, and then a little bit of this. I clicked the wrong thing.
Undo.
Nope, it's fine. It's just doing its thing. Nice and overgrown. Because they got the semblance of a little bit of concrete there from when they were doing something with it and then gave up. Because he said the poor area, who cares about the poor people?
Okay, I get you. So now it's all overgrown with hedgerow and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you have any ideas, Phil, by all means let me know, because I know it's just going to be
I feel like we need more in the square, like in the town square.
Ah, yes,
itself.
I agree.
But I'm trying to think what.
I have a little idea, but it's whether there's actually a token for it, or a vector for it, I should say.
My immediate thought was, is there a toppled or shattered statue that isn't like?
Yes, it is. I know for a fact that it is. It's just whether it is the correct angle, shall we say?
Yeah.
More dead grass, more dead grass, more dead grass. Dead grass, dead grass, dead grass. Dead, 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 dead. Dead, 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 dead. 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 Deed. D-E-D did. Some moss in there. Maybe looks more like a hedge, but that'll do. Little hedge. A little bit over here.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
A little bit over here. And then there's just one more that I want to do, just because I know it's here.
It does kind of look like hedgerow, but that kind of works.
Yeah. I just want to put a couple of root systems down here, which is one of the ones they added from the horror update, to put around some of the trees.
Sarko says, asks, can you make your own vectors for Inkarnate, or stamps, if that's what they're called?
Yes, they're called stamps, but they are vectors. So literally all you do is you go into your stamp tool, click on your stamps, and click upload. It's a little slow to upload them, but so long as they are clear PNGs, they will interact with them exactly as these ones do. The biggest issue that I find with it, though, Saracos, is just finding the same art style, because otherwise some of them stand out a little bit.
Stand out too much, yeah.
You can find ones like 2-Minute RPG and or 2-Minute Tabletopper, I think his name is, who does things in this art style. But obviously you've got to pay for his stamps.
Yes.
But his stamps are very good.
Continually advertise to me on social media. So
he has earned it. He's very good at what he does.
yeah.
Oh no, that's why I'm on the wrong sodding thing. I thought something was wrong with that, and I thought I was just going crazy, but no. I am going crazy, I just didn't realise that what it was that was wrong. Ha 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 ha. A couple more over there. And a few in here. Cool. So now there's root systems and all this kind of thingamajig. So it looks a little bit more run down, a little bit closer to what we want. We now need a big ol' statue. Let's go with this one because it's not fully broken, but broken enough.
Yeah, not well looked after, but not exactly. It's fallen over in the middle of
it. Oh, that is far too big. 40. There we go. Put that right there.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. Lower the layer?
Yes, I'm going to in just a second. I'm just going to put this one behind it as well, while I remember as well.
So it's all kind of grown over it a bit.
There we go.
Yeah, that's good.
And then there's one more thing I want to add in. If I can remember what the heck it's called. It's doing me a heckin' thunk, because my brain, she only fires at about 4 cycles per minute.
80 miles per hour, Marty.
The only thing that's going 88 miles per hour is my... Oh no, I'm not going to say that. That's a dark joke. I'm not making that joke.
Sarkos thinks she might start designing her own for future use, do get on it. I keep intending to try it myself and then do it for about 5 minutes, and it looks awful, and I get frustrated because I haven't spent anywhere near enough time doing it.
Yeah. Again, until you practice, nothing will come of it. Just because I wanted to have something in that corner because it was feeling a little empty to me.
Okay, no, that's good. That gives a little bit of height. So it's, you know, because that would be a major place for something to happen. You can have some ranged characters, take some, get some height, get some ground, get some cover.
Yeah, so now I'm just gonna dirty up the path a little bit, make it not quite so square. In certain places it looks fine, certain places it looks a little obvious.
Yeah. And also it kind of that adds to the nature that the path was probably considerably wider in some time, but like it's just grown over.
Well, that's the idea that I put with here. Is if I put it there, it's like, haha, that was amazing. Oh no, they stole the cobblestones and turned them into their houses.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
We'll just put that one down there because I want to attach that bit a little bit. That's attached, that's attached. Let's put that there to make that one attach. Put that over there just to do that. And yes, I think that's it. It's still a little empty.
Fantastic.
It's still a little empty for my tastes. But anything more that I would put in is going to start flooding it. So the only thing I can think of...
Mastering a bit.
The only thing I can think of, possibly...
Anything you can think of, Sarkos, or anyone in chat that you'd want in this map that wouldn't necessarily be... able to move about, something fixed that might be missing from this scene. Got lots of variation in places now where they can go if they're being chased, if they're chasing someone, if they're ambushed somewhere as they try and find their way to the Thieves Guild. They might not be, you know, they might be looking for a person, rather than a place as well, which could mean like having to go, I mean, imagine having to go house to house in this place, that kind of thing. They might need to set up a watch somewhere as well, like where they might have to stake out somewhere, which in a place as ramshackle and cluttered as this isn't going to be easy.
In an area where presumably everybody knows each other.
Yes, yeah.
Which, much like real life, you ain't from here. What are you doing here?
Near from the they try and make some holes in the roofs where the roof tiles were stolen, potholes, that kind of thing. You haven't used your favourite cracks yet.
Yeah, I haven't used
Bloody love using cracks.
I do like placing some crack around. Let's chuck some irregular fissures around the place, shall we? Oh, there you go. That's why the statue's crumbling. It now has a hole in it.
Nice. And again, these could be deterioration, or like you said, where they just stole a chunk of cobblestones to use for their house.
Exactly. I'm also gonna just put that away. Because something that I learned with the cracks is that depending on what ones you get, they can look like little waves.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
Using things not as they were intended, but gives it a little bit of extra depth. And yes, I think that is it. Be more damaged. Why won't you be more damaged?
Name my autobiography.
Oh, it's because I'm on the background layer, that'll be why.
Yep.
There we go. There we go.
I know there's a bucket stamp. Is there a shattered bucket?
There isn't, unfortunately.
Maybe a shattered barrel that you can make smaller or something.
Shattered
like that.
barrel, definitely.
You can pop that next to the well. Make it a bit smaller or something like that.
Can't even see the bucket anymore. Look how small it is.
What's that, sorry?
Look at the bucket over there. Tiny, tiny bucket.
Actually, the other bit as well, I think, mind you, it does look like it has got a bit of layer to it. Oh, right, okay, yeah, there is a tiny bucket.
Tiny bucket. Big honking rabbit.
Giant rabbit. That's what the PCs are looking for.
Yeah.
That's why there's a chase
Yeah,
sequence.
that's what the quest is just chasing rabbits around. That's a level 1 quest for you.
Level 1 quest. I've lost my prized bunny nibbles. I'm scared it's gone into the poorer district.
Please go get it back. I will pay you 30 gold.
Before it becomes a stew.
Proceed chase sequence of contested rolls against the DM for the NPCs trying to chase it down to eat it. But yeah, I think...
Which could then... I can actually see that playing out. And then you're like, well, what do we do? Hold on. We could trade something. So then they have to try and catch one of the geese and trade.
Look, I've got one of these. This is an angry thing. Like, how do you expect us to kill that? That wasn't the offer.
PCs have to kill it as well because they're level 1. One of their party got killed as well.
Crack. Yeah, the barbarian goes down trying to fight geese.
Sariko says you find out the poor area kidnaps the rabbit and gives it back a couple of days later
to get 30 gold each time. Hey, that's a good hustle. That is a good hustle. Cool.
It works.
I think that's going to be us for the evening. It's a little earlier than we usually go, but I think that is about perfect. And we will catch you all soon.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!